Welcome to the Greenfield Report with Henry R. Greenfield, your gateway to understanding today's geopolitical landscape. With 50 years of experience across 10 countries, Henry shares expert insights on world affairs, offering practical solutions and engaging guest perspectives. Dive into the Greenfield Report for lively discussions on the issues that matter.
This is Henry R. Greenfield for the Greenfield Report, with a special commentary on what happened yesterday when Trump blinked and reduced the tariffs, not took them away, but reduced for most countries, but kept them on China. What I'd like to focus on is not actually what happened vis-a-vis China, which we all know is going to be a big problem for the average American consumer. And of course, while there was a bounce back on Wall Street, which everyone is lauding, and Trump and all of his advisors are saying it was all part of a big plan, I want to make this commentary very clear for everybody to understand. What we had yesterday was very close to what happened in 2008 when George Bush said, if there is not money put into the economy, this sucker is going to go down. What does that mean? At the end of the day, what the United States' entire economy is propped up with is because of U.S. Treasury bonds. This is based on the so-called full faith and credit of the United States federal government. Now, what has happened in the 2 months since Trump has been in office? Trump has relentlessly, and I want to say relentlessly, attacked his own federal government. He has made the entire world freak out about, is the United States going to be a reliable partner in the future? It's not just a matter of taking away some aid for starving children in Africa, or Musk in his constant saying about the West big problem is having empathy. None of these things are really the critical area. What the critical area is that if people do not trust the United States, especially if it's like China, and as J.D. Vance called them, the so-called peasants of China, those peasants have literally trillions and trillions of dollars invested in U.S. treasuries. They are beginning to pull them out. It's not a joke. When they pull them out, what happens, Mr. and Mrs. America? The price of those bonds go up. Not the price, the interest rate goes up because the actual value goes down. Remember that inverse relationship between the price of the bonds and the actual interest rate. What that means is it's going to cost more money to finance the U.S. debt. Let's flip this forward to what this is all about. Of course, yesterday, Trump panicked because that bond market was shaking. And he has this guy called Besant, who is his so-called Treasury Secretary, a hedge fund manager who's done nothing but making money, ripping people off with hedge funds. Even he panicked yesterday. So everybody was panicking. They were all running around. As Trump said later, well, people got yippy. Well, what was the yippee really all about? What they got yippee about was, is this thing going to be a full run on the U.S. economy? Was it going to be not just the stock market, which a lot of people can handle in terms of like it dropping a bit, at least globally, but the U.S. government cannot handle, and I need to put this very clearly, the U.S. government cannot handle higher interest rates for the U.S. debt. As we spoke about in several episodes of the Greenfield Report, in particular, episode 9, where we talked about fixing the U.S. debt and deficit, there are ways to actually fix that. And there are ways to get that U.S. budget into the surplus without doing any of the stuff that Trump is doing. Now, if Trump wants to play around with tariffs, it's one thing, but to go up, down, freaking out the market, driving that market down, and then losing the faith in the U.S. federal government because he's blowing up the U.S. federal government. Now, so think about that all in totality. What does that mean? What if you are somebody who's investing in the United States? Do not forget that under Biden, actually what's called the foreign direct investment, FDI, was up all 4 years during the Biden time. And on top of that, it was much higher than what was going into China. So Biden had the economy on a roll. You can agree or disagree, but what you cannot disagree with is the panic that is about to happen or was about to happen yesterday when Trump put a pause on the tariffs. So what this all means is, as George Bush Sr. once said about Ronald Reagan with voodoo economics, you can only play around so long before the markets begin to panic. Now, a lot of people are not very happy with the way the global economy has gone. I'm not going to debate that one way or the other. I'm only going to say that if you have the economy that the United States has, which has grown from 21 trillion under Biden to over 30 trillion in 4 short years. If you have an economy like that and you want to protect that economy and you want to remain number one, you do not do what Trump is doing. That is the point. The point here is, while we also talked about this in episode 3, does Trump have a plan? Yes, Trump has a plan, but Trump is not actually working his own plan. If he has a plan on tariffs, well, then do it. If he has a plan on trying to reshore manufacturing to America, well, then do it. But he's not doing that. What he's doing is just creating chaos. Chaos in the federal government, chaos in people's lives, chaos in their 401ks dropping. And yesterday was about to have chaos in the bond market, which is U.S. Treasuries. And once again, I'm going to say the only way to finance the U.S. debt, because what else is Trump doing? He's going to keep his Trump tax cuts, and he wants more tax cuts. Again, as we outlined in episode 9 of the Greenfield Report, this is economic suicide. So I'm going to conclude on this special report today by saying this. What Trump is doing is he is messing with everyone's lives, not just in the U.S., but also outside. However, the chickens may be coming home to roost, and he knew that yesterday, and he had to put a stop to it. Will this actually change Trump's behavior? Of course not. Trump is going to do what Trump is going to do. The key here is that we all need to get the message out to the economic folks who are all sitting there lying for Trump, or on the other side, all panicking. No one should panic and no one should lie. What people need to do is to start being realistic and also enact some of those changes that we have put in to episode 9 on saving the U.S. economy as well as saving the U.S. healthcare system. So in my view, and what I am trying to do here for all of us is to keep this real as we move along and not allow Trump or any of his lying sycophants to be who are out there every day, every hour, lying as he changes his mind every 10 minutes, that we cannot allow this to keep going on without pushing back. And this does not mean it's about Bernie Sanders talking about Trump is the king. Bernie's a nice old guy, but Bernie is not offering any solutions. Neither is AOC, neither is anybody else in the Democratic Party. Why? I have no idea. But we are offering solutions here on the Greenfield Report. This is Henry R. Greenfield with an additional commentary on yesterday's discussion with the bond market and how that has hurt the United States and made the entire economic system wobbly. Let's look at a few factors that have happened in the last 24 hours. First of all, the U.S. stock market is down again over 1,000 points as Trump put the China tariffs up to 145%, while China retaliated with over 100% tariffs on U.S. goods. Secondly, the U.S. dollar continues to go down. The U.S. dollar has lost 10% since Donald Trump came into office. And if you think about that, that's an additional cost to Americans buying everything from overseas, which are in the trillions. The U.S. property market is now wobbly. Unemployment is starting to go up. The middle class is feeling the pinch. When you go on Amazon or any other website, you're seeing a tariff surcharge. So when the Trump team says, well, look, inflation is still down, Of course, it is still down. Why is that? Because Biden left it in a very good position to start with, and people pre-bought from Amazon to China in the billions and billions of dollars. So inventories are up. In fact, actually, these inventories should hold up for some period of time. Does that mean that Trump is winning? Of course not. What it means is that the U.S., when they run out, and if Trump does not change, and he says he won't change, but of course, do we know if Trump will actually ever hold the line on anything? We're not sure. But the U.S. economy right now is again wobbling. One final note to add here is, what does this mean for the Americans and the American consumer? When you add up all of these areas, the weakening U.S. dollar, a property market which is not improving, imports, of course, are now going to be completely shut down from China, except for the bare minimum, for some time to come. And China now feels that they are on the ascendancy in terms of this tariff war. All in all, if you looked at Trump today, even Trump is worried. Trump says he is worried, and he should be worried, as he has taken the U.S. economy into a dangerous zone with no way out. This is Henry R. Greenfield, concluding with our second part of this commentary, beginning with the bond market, but also now the continuing developments with Donald Trump that are making the U.S. economy wobble, and who knows what is going to happen in the future.
Thank you for joining us on the Greenfield Report with Henry R. Greenfield. We hope today's insights into the ever-shifting geopolitical landscape have sparked your curiosity and broadened your perspective. Stay connected with us for more in-depth discussions and expert solutions. Until next time, keep exploring the world beyond the headlines.